What's up, YouTube, and hi, welcome to the video. My name is Juju, and today we'll be going over all of the new patch notes for Gods Unchained. So, Mortal Judgment just released. Hope everyone had a great release weekend and a release week. They just announced some patch notes, which is pretty fast in my opinion. Only gave a weekend rank to make some adjustments, but I guess that's a good thing, right? The devs are super active, so they're monitoring the game and keeping an watchful eye, trying to make sure that we have a healthy game balance, so that's always nice. In this video, we're pretty much just going to go over each card, and I'll talk about my opinions about the changes, what I think should be done, what I think shouldn't be done, and if I think how those changes affect those cards in the metagame right now. So without further ado, let's get to it. First up, we'll talk about what the devs have said. Mortal Judgment has now landed, but the fun doesn't stop here. We have a raft of balance changes and bug fixes to share based on our observations and player feedback. Read on for a more detailed breakdown, but the TLDR is this patch will be dropping in the next couple of days. Sick. That's a quick TLDR. Balance notes. This is the first round of Mortal Judgment changes. After assessing post-release data and hearing player feedback, we're expecting this expansion to go through a similar cycle as Divine Order, so this patch is the first of many as we address balance issues and bugs. Please keep providing constructive feedback. This patch includes a sweep on core, 2 tiny Divine Order changes ahead of Setlock, and a large pass on Mortal Judgment, and some discussion of cards we're watching closely in the meta for the next patch. Great. So one thing that stands out to me is they're expecting this expansion to go through a similar cycle as Divine Order. That means the balancing phase should take a while, as we're thinking, because Divine Order is still going through balancing, and it released like in November, October. So yeah, think about it's probably going to be about a 6-month balance patch. In terms of the individual cards, we're going to go over them. Divine Order cards. First up, we have Finian Fruitbearer. They just added the faction tag Wild. That's great for nature. You have another wild candidate to use with Wildfire, all that good stuff. Finian Fruitbearer is in my opinion, should be a staple in nature decks too, so no surprise there. Ring of the Siren, mana cost change, bug fix, change mana cost from 4 to 3. This is pretty good. I thought 4 was too much for this relic, especially it takes some setup because it's also an ability effect, so makes sense why they changed it back to 3. Yeah, 4 is way too expensive. Core cards. We have Sentient Amphora, mana cost change mana cost from 2 to 1. Okay, so now it's a 1 mana frontline Atlantean that draws you a card, which is pretty nice. In my opinion, this might be a buff to Atlantean decks, depending on if they run any cards that possibly buff, like other cards. So I'm thinking maybe a deck like War. It's also, if in my opinion, it's not loading right now. It could definitely buff. It could definitely fit in a deck like Light. And if you splash Atlantean engines, maybe use an Undertow Rover and other stuff, maybe that can work. But other than that, it's pretty good. It's a 1 mana draw 1, essentially now. Triumvirate Prophet, stats increase, mana cost change stats from 1/2 to 2/2, change mana cost from 3 to 2. This is chosen support. And it's only a legendary, so I guess that makes sense to change it to a 2 mana to a 2/2. And I believe it gives the Chosen One 1/1 and something else. So it's a pretty good card in Chosen One decks. Definitely a buff for that. Crystal Rain, change text from deal 2 damage to each enemy creature to force C2, deal 2 damage to each enemy creature. I see. So they changed it back to its original effect, which is nice because last patch they nerfed it from 4 mana to 5 mana, so it's good to see them implement the 4C effect again. Ooh, and it's not 4C1 anymore, it's 4C2. That could be a big change, especially for control magic. Very good card. Very nice. Cool. Nerfs. We're going on to Zealous March. Text change text from fill your board with 2/2 Acolytes. Each of your creatures gain protected to summon 4 2/2 Acolytes with protected. That's pretty good. I hated this card, honestly. I thought it was way too powerful for 7 mana, so the fact that they nerfed this a little bit helps bring the metagame to a better standing, I think. Aggro Light is already kind of falling off in the meta. or not really falling off in the meta, but it's already kind of losing steam. So this nerf should help rebalance everything as well, or bring all the other archetypes to that power level. Vexing Viker, text change text from frontline protected ward to protected ward. Okay, that makes it a lot better in my opinion. Frontline protected ward is a very, very strong combination of keywords. The only other card that has this combination is Highborn Knight, and that card is a Genesis card that is like $200. So yeah, I mean, I think this nerfs light in a sense, but protected ward is already good. Like Shadow Scryer has these keywords in Magic and it sees play, so I have no doubt that this card will still see play in aggro light. Witherfingers, text change text from Hidden Roar. The 3 strongest enemy creatures gain burn +2 and go to sleep, to Roar, the 3 strongest enemy creatures gain burn +2 and go to sleep. Okay, so it lost its hidden effect. I mean, honestly, this card is still really strong even without the hidden effect, so I think it's still going to see play in Deception Sleep decks. It's pretty minimal change. Hidden probably just put it a little bit over the top. Next up, we have Arrow of Rage. Mana cost increase. Change mana cost from 1 to 2. Okay, Arrow of Rage was a very effective form of removal, so changing it up to 2 makes it less effective, but still kind of does its job, so I could totally see why it got the nerf. Veilward and Minotaur, strength decrease. Change strength from 5 to 4. I mean, I guess it's okay. Honestly, I'm erring to the side where it was pretty fair as a 5/5. 5 mana 5/5. I mean, you could only summon it with Ominous Burrow, but I mean, it's still like a strong card in my opinion, just because it also helps you heal and it also nets you, it replaces itself with a stronger card, or hopefully stronger card. It's a 7 mana card, so it should in theory be stronger. Anyways, what I think about this thing, Veilward and Minotaur is still one of the best 5 drops for nature, other than Silk Spite and the other cards. Actually, Silk Spite got nerfed, so maybe it's not as good anymore. But yeah, they definitely nerfed some of the 5 mana cards. Next up, we have Solemn Lecture. Stats decrease, change stats from 4/4 to 4/3. Okay, I could kind of see that change. The card was kind of strong. They nerfed it to 3 mana to make it less reliable, or less resilient, more vulnerable to removal, if that makes sense. Archimonian Onslaught, text change text from give each friendly Amazon 3/2 and Twin Strike to give each friendly Amazon 3 strength and Twin Strike. Aw. Makes sense. Amazons were very strong this past weekend, so I could totally see why they decided to nerf a couple of these cards. Yeah, that's all I can really say. 2 health is a big deal for small creatures like Amazons, and if they take away that 2 health, it makes the finisher a lot less powerful. Still going to be the finisher of choice for Amazons, though. Next up, we have all the buffs for Mortal Judgment cards. Scuttler Sentry, strength increase, change strength from 1 to 2. Okay, that seems fair. It's a 1 mana 1/1 Atlantean. Now it's a 1 mana 2/1 Atlantean. That could definitely give it a buff to any aggro magic Atlanteans that see play. City Sniper, health increase, change health from 1 to 2. Okay, I could see that. It was very understated for what it was. Encumbered Looter, strength increased from 1 to 2 as well. Okay. Pools of Nemesis, health increase, change health from 3 to 4. So it goes from a 1/3 to a 1/4 that can possibly copy another card or another minion. That can see play. I think if they really wanted to make the card work, they'd put it to 5 health, because honestly for 4 mana at 4 health, that's so vulnerable to a lot of different things. You can think of a 3 mana damage spell / blitz minion, and maybe add like a 1 mana damaging god power, for example the mage god power, or Orpheo's Deception, something like that, and it could totally kill the card. If you really wanted it to like stay alive, 5 mana would probably be the best play. But if your opponent doesn't have an answer for this card, then you get a free copy effect on a really powerful minion, hopefully, if you've built your deck right. So Yeah, I could see why they moved it up from 3 to 4 instead of moving it up to 3 to 4, or 3 to 5. 5 would have made it way more survivable and would have opened up so many options for different different types of decks. Hero in training, strength increase, change strength from 1 to 2. Okay. Bestowing Saint, health increase, changed health from 1 to 2. Okay, so they made the health a little bit more made these minions a little bit more durable and strong. Nerfs, Semut, bearer of burdens. Change text from when this creature enters the board, give 1 strength to your other creatures. 2, after this creature is summoned, give 1 strength to your other Anubians. Oh. Okay, so grammar update. Even though it's a grammar update, shouldn't creatures... It's a nerf. It's still a nerf because it goes from buffing creatures to buffing Anubians. And that could have some implications there. Cool. Next up, we have Sprite Fire. Text change. Change text from Roar after you play this creature. If you have 8 or more cards in hand, give it 5/5. Frontline and can attack. 2. Roar. If you have 8 cards or more in your hand, this creature gains 3/3, can attack and frontline. From the team, as Sprite Fire is a promo card, we're cautious of it having too high of a power level. A low access card potentially being a dominant meta factor would create an unhealthy competitive environment. I agree. This is probably why they've been buffing cards from the core set as well, just to level out the cards from Genesis set. In my opinion, I think this is a good thing, although Sprite Fire would have been a great addition to any kind of control aggro decks that might possibly be into using dragons, so makes sense. Next card, Roadside Checkpoint, Empower Cost Increase. Increase Empower Cost from 4 to 5. We've increased our estimate of the value of Empower's strategic flexibility across the board. Okay, not bad. I think Empower is a good way to flexibly nerf or buff a card as well. So I'm excited that the devs are experimenting with, instead of changing the mana cost and changing the empower cost, because that's exactly what we talked about next video, or in the last patch notes video. So great job, devs. Warrant Issuer, empower cost increase empower cost from 2 to 3. Okay. Edict of Confinement, change text, give -2/-2 to creature, empower 2, summon 2. Theric Militants 2, give -1/-2 to a creature, empower 2, summon 2, 1/1 Theric Militants. This card was actually pretty good with its empower effect, so it's very interesting to see them nerf it. I mean, honestly, I think it's a good nerf, in my opinion, so I'm not too mad about that. Vengeful Suripite, empower cost increase empower cost from 1 to 2. Makes sense. Dead King's Touch, change text from destroy a creature with 6 health or less, empower 1, add a Pharaoh's Heirloom to your hand. 2, give an enemy creature -4/-4, empower 1, add a Pharaoh's Heirloom to your hand. Okay, so they definitely changed this because of Swiftpox, and the reason why is because Swiftpox is basically the same effect, except without the empower effect. So the change to Dead King's Touch makes it less of a power creep, which is good. It's just more of a side grade right now, and that's what the devs had said. I think that's okay. I think it's better to correct that kind of mistake than let it be an obvious power creep. I'm interested that the devs are more cognizant of limiting power creep than like enabling it, right? Because that's something you don't really see in TCGs often. Like, you see a lot of power creep happen in games a lot. So the fact that they're limiting power creep in this phase of their game, third expansion, is pretty interesting in my opinion. But I haven't given it too much thought. Maybe limiting power creep is a good thing, especially for a third expansion set. When I'm thinking about like the life cycle of a game, maybe the ideal strong cards should be at the beginning, and then, or maybe towards like the middle, like the first 1 or 2 expansions, and then the third expansion should be limiting the power creep, because once the next rotation hits, things will be different. I don't know. I'm just like speaking out of my ass at this point, but that's just what I'm thinking. It's just interesting to see that the devs are very cognizant on limiting power creep. Next up, we have Theoretical Thaumaturge. Change text from Echo Afterlife. Deal 3 damage to the enemy creature with the most health. Ties decided randomly to Echo Afterlife. Deal 2 damage to the enemy creature with the most health. Okay, this is a nerf to control magic, because I think this is a 2 mana card. Let me check. 2 mana, right? It doesn't even say. It's not loading right now. It's okay. I think it's a 2 mana or 3 mana card. So 2 mana for 3 damage seemed interesting. But then when you add on the Echo card, 2 mana plus 3 mana for 6 damage seemed pretty efficient. Yeah, I mean, I could totally see that. Nerfing it to do damage is a nerf to control magic, in my opinion. Whimsical Wizard, Echo, text change. Change text from Soulless Afterlife. Deal 3 damage to the enemy creature. Oh, so this is the same one as Theoretical Thaumaturge. Got it. Museum Infusion, Empower Cost Increase. Increase in power cost from 1 to 2. Barksworn Hunter, text change. Change text from Echo Roar, give 2 strength to this creature, then it attacks a random enemy creature. To Echo Roar, gives 2 strength to this creature, then it attacks a random enemy creature. Oh, sorry. I read that wrong. Echo Roar, give 2 strength to this creature, then it attacks random enemy character. To Echo Roar, give 2 strength to this creature, then it attacks a random enemy creature. So it changes from being able to attack face to just only specifically attacking minions. That's pretty good in my opinion, because Barksworn Hunter is an Amazon and it kind of hit face, and sometimes that would be a crazy, like, significant amount of damage, especially if you consider the fact that Amazon is an aggro deck. And it doesn't mind doing free damage to a character. I skipped Museum Infusion, by the way, and power cost increase in power cost from 1 to 2. I didn't think it was a big deal. Lady and Long Piercer, text changed, Echo, change text from Soulless, Roar. Okay, so it's the Barksworn Hunter, but the Echo card. Makes sense. Blade Borrower, mana cost increase, change mana cost from 2 to 3. Let's see Blade Borrower. See if it refreshes for me. No, it doesn't. It makes sense, though, as a deception card. I could totally see why they did that, because aggro deception got really strong, honestly. Odds and ends dealer, change text from Roar, give 3 strength to your creatures from another domain. Neutral creatures have no domain. 2 Roar, give 3 strength to a random friendly creature from another domain. Okay, so instead of it being like a finisher now, it's not really a finisher. It's kind of a letdown. But it is a creature. It's a 5 mana 4/4 or 5 mana 5/5 if I'm not mistaken. I could be completely wrong though. I wish for some reason the website isn't loading the rest of the things for me, so I guess that's fine, right? Other than that, it's a nerf to the other domain deception / war deck, but it's fine. I don't think that deck is going to be good anymore because of the nerfs to 20-sided mace and other cards, Aspect Juggler and Rollicking Lyricist. So it's fine. It doesn't really hurt the deck anymore because the deck is already nerfed to the ground. Pietro, Merry Bandit. Change text from Roar. Randomly summon 2 1-mana creatures from another domain, then give it hidden to each friendly creature. To Roar, randomly summon 2 1-mana war creatures, then give hidden to each friendly creature. I think this is a nerf, in my opinion. I mean, it is in the nerf section, right? Yeah, it is. So the reason why it's a nerf, chains from more creatures to other creatures from another domain, is because sometimes you could pull out some crazy good creatures from another domain. Marshwalker, Hoplite Veteran or Veteran Hoplite, or other cards that have significant value. Because it's limiting it to war creatures now, it's a smaller range of variants, more consistent. And 1-mana war creatures are still good, don't get me wrong, but it's definitely a nerf because it prevents the high roll of maybe doing a Marshwalker or a Veteran Hoplite, you know? Cool. Oh, and that's what they said with the team. Okay, cool. The team up from Valka and Oreo is being owned on a bit more of with these changes to Deception's random summon cards. In the balanced team, this also reduces the range of summons to provide a more consistent average result and more miniature blowout random rolls. Cool. Makes sense. Reckless Banneret. This is the Empower card. It's the 5-mana one for War. Change text from Roar. Give 2/1 to each other friendly creature. Empower 2. Give 3/0 instead. To Roar, give 1/1 to each other damage-friendly creature. Empower 2, give 3/0 instead. The undeniable question here is, why are we nerfing a War card after this first week's results? The answer is that we've had this change slated since the PTR test and can now only implement it. And the card above is above the mathematical line. War will be getting some love very soon in other areas. Cool. Well, it's good to hear that War is getting some love very soon in other areas. That's great. I hope that, it buffs Dragon Tooth War, maybe? I don't know. Hopefully. But, okay, I guess it makes sense. Because it's an Empower card, it buffs Garen. So, or it gets buffed by Garen and Mobilize. So, I mean, there's some stuff there to consider. I'm not too sure though. I think honestly this card is fine. It's a 5-mana 5/5 that gives 2/1, so it's technically a 5-mana 7/6, which is pretty good. Or maybe it's a 4/4. Let me check. Nope, can't see it. Well, chat, if you're paying attention to this video right now, let me know what stats Reckless Banneret is. I think it's a 4-mana or a 5-mana 5/5. If I'm not mistaken, it could be a 5-mana 4/4, but it's fine. We'll figure it out as we go. Next up, we have Reject Dogma. Text change. Change text from draw a card. Empower 1, deal 4 damage and obliterate a spell in your hand. 2, draw a card. Empower 1, deal 2 damage and obliterate a spell in your hand. Okay, so instead of deal 4 damage, it's deal 2 damage. Dang. Reject Dogma was such a good card. Now it's kind of just average because you still have to obliterate a spell in your hand. 2 mana, draw 1, deal 2 damage, and obliterate a spell. The Empower effect is kind of lackluster now. Silk Spite. Text change. Change text from after a creature is healed and Roar, summon a 1/1 Noxious Arachne with Deadly. It then attacks a random valid target. 2, after a creature is healed and Roar, summon a 1/1 Noxious Arachne with Deadly. Dang, they nerfed the card. I'm sorry. Now it's a 5-mana 3/3 that summons a poisonous spider 1/1, but the spider doesn't attack after it's summoned. That hurts. I mean, I get the effect could be oppressive, but I mean, your opponent should have an out to this on turn 5, right? They should have an out because it's a 3/3. So I'm thinking, like, yeah, Silk Spite will net me a card. Oh, well, I mean, there are situations where you have injured sprouts on the board. Or any of your regen creatures, right? So you drop down Silk Spite on a turn where you have a couple of injured regen creatures. That's basically almost a full board clear. And your opponent is left with a board full of, like, spiders that they have to deal with. Because if they don't deal with it, they're kind of fucked. Yeah, I'm kind of sad though, because Silk Spite was a very good card. I like the design, but I understand why they have to nerf it. I just like playing overpowered cards. I think it's fun having that sense of power in a TCG. Anyways, yeah, I understand the nerf. It's fine. Unannounced Arrival, mana cost increase, text change. Change mana cost from 3 to 4. Change text from pick 1, summon a random 4-mana creature, deal 1 damage to each creature. 2, delve a 4-mana creature, summon it, and deal 1 damage to each enemy creature. Oh. It is a nerf, but because you delve now, there's a... I don't know if this is really a nerf. Because you get to delve. And you get both effects. This doesn't feel like a nerf at all. And yeah, you get to change the mana cost from 3 to 4. but you run less risk of not getting your mana's worth, right? So, for example, if I play this 3 mana cost card, I waste a turn on it, by the way, to summon a 4 mana creature. Some 4 mana creatures in the game are well below like the stat level for a 3 mana cost. So there are some cases where you play the card and you basically like waste mana because you summon like a 4 mana 1/2 or a 4 mana 2/2. You know what I mean? Or a 4 mana 2/3. That could be kind of iffy, right? But now that you get to delve a creature, you know exactly if you can definitely control if you're getting your mana's worth. So, for example, yeah, you can just control it. And on top of that, you still deal 1 damage to each enemy creature. So for an additional mana, you get both effects from the pick one. And then you get to choose the 4 mana creature that will give you the most stats or most bang for your buck for that mana cost. So I don't know if this is a nerf. I actually think this is honestly a buff. So yeah, that's interesting. Oh, and there are some implications here where you can summon a 4 mana creature, and what if that 4 mana creature has spell boost? Right? So now you're in a position where you play the card, you get to delve, and you get to choose from your options, right? And if one of your options has spell boost, maybe a spell boost 2, spell boost 1, whatever, right? You get to deal 4 damage, or you get to summon a whatever body stats of creature, right? However many stats that creature has, and then depending on the spell boost, you have a free board clear. Yeah, that's pretty good. Not a nerf, in my opinion. Unannounced arrival is definitely a buff. Pack succession. Text changed. Change text from summon a random 5 mana wild creature. It attacks the strongest enemy creature. If your creature dies, summon that creature again. 2. Summon a random 5 mana wild creature. It attacks the strongest enemy creature. And that's it. Okay, that's definitely a nerf. Yeah, could totally see that. Rollicking Lyricist. Text change. Change text from Tempt Fate. Roar. Randomly summon a 1 mana creature from another domain. 2. Tempt Fate. Roar. Summon a random 1 mana war creature. Okay, so they're again reducing the variability of the 1 mana creatures you can summon. That's pretty good from a design standpoint. It's always better to reduce RNG. Changes. Albino Hydra. Text change. Change text from Roar. Deal 6 to your opponent's god. 2. Roar. Deal 6 damage to the strongest enemy creature. Okay. I think that's better, in my opinion. So now that's like a huge tempo boost, right? Yeah, it's a huge tempo boost. I don't know the stats of this card. I think it's a 6 mana creature. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat or YouTube comments. But this is better. This is a huge tempo swing. Because 1, you summon a body on the board, and then you get to eliminate your opponent's threat. Like one of your opponent's biggest threats. So that's a buff, in my opinion. Yeah, you forego dealing 6 damage to your opponent's god, but in a tempo deck, you're not really looking to burn your opponent's god down. You're looking to control board and deal damage through your board. So this can be really big for larger curve nature decks. Next up, we have United Reinforcements. Mana cost reduced. Text change. Change your mana cost from 5 to 3. Change text from give 2 of the following to each of your Amazon and wild creatures, etc. 2. Pick 2. Draw an Amazon. Draw a wild. Give 1 health to each Amazon and wild. Damn. They nerfed this card to the ground. It's a 3 mana draw 2 at best. I mean, depending on your board, this could be really good. Honestly, I really like this card as a finisher, and it sucks that they took that away, but I guess that's fine because nature has a lot of finishers in terms of Firewine, Archmonian Onslaught, Wildfire, Sudden Bloom even. So there are a lot of different finishers that nature can run. So this becomes more of, Okay, this is low-key big. So this is actually kind of big for the nature, because I just thought of this. This is the only nature card that allows you to draw. Only nature card that allows you to draw. Go through all of the lists, because I've done this multiple times. Go through all of the cards in the nature class. Look for any specific nature card that has the word draw in it. There's none. None. This is actually a very big change for the class. Although nature loses its strongest finisher, it gains a form of draw. And that's actually kind of nutty, because this will enable some crazy aggro tempo decks to emerge. Pack Stock will be good. Any card that allows you to cheat armor, Mana Garmer could possibly be good. Maybe Crescent Wolf, like any nature deck that allows you to like play fast minions. Nature finally has a draw, so any aggro Amazon, aggro Wild, whatever you want, they're allowed to play tempo cards now, because the problem with nature cards that, you know, refresh your mana is that you're actually spending an additional card to refresh your mana to play another card. So you're burning out your hand very fast. Now that nature has a form of refill that's not just generating random wild cards, you're actually drawing cards from your deck, cards that you actually need to complete your strategy. That can be good. And the fact that you can also buff your board if you don't need to draw is also very good. So, wow. United Reinforcements, y'all. That's going to be... I mean, it's too early to tell. I don't want to overhype the card, but what's hype about this card is the fact that nature just got its first ever draw 2 3 mana card in the class, because there's no other card that allows you to draw for nature unless you use like neutral cards, but I'm not counting neutral cards, because in a class like nature you'd want to be playing like, I don't know. Anyways, I digress. Very big stuff for the class. Nature still got some tools. It's still good. Okay, so these changes make me mad. Why do these changes make me mad? Well, one, I think the devs totally nerfed Damage War, or what I like to call Dragon Tooth War. If you haven't seen the video, check it out. I'm very sad that they put Volcaz from 4 to 5. I kind of understand why, because Volcaz is actually pretty nutty in a couple of decks. Heal Nature is one. So cards that take advantage of those deal 1, heal like whatever, right? It hurts. But they also nerfed Dragon Tooth War. And now the card is completely... The deck is kind of nerfed to the ground at this point, because they also nerfed Sign of Strife, and that makes me sad as well. Yeah, that's why... okay, the reason why it completely nerfs Dragon Tooth War to the ground is Volcaz is a 4-mana card, Commander Pyros is a 3-mana card, and there are a couple of other cards that synergize very well with Volcaz. Sign of Strife, for example, 3-mana card that synergizes with a 4-mana card. The reason why I'm talking about these price points, right, 3 mana plus 4 mana equals 7 mana, is because the Dragon Tooth War deck in particular spikes at 7 mana. Like, it's a combo deck that you're basically building up your hand, building resources, trying to survive from your opponent. Then at 6 mana, you go off with your AoE effects, clear the board, in addition to having either a Sign of Strife or something else, maybe a Mammoth. And then from there, 7 mana, you want to play a Volcaz and a Commander Pyros, something along those lines to buff your board even further. Volcaz moving to 5 is actually a very big deal for the Damage War deck. Because of this, I It's still going to be playable, but it heavily nerfs the card. It heavily nerfs the archetype, in my opinion. So, yeah. But, I mean, I understand the mana cost change from 4 to 5 because at 4 mana, you can also run this card in Nature with Dagon and Dahlia and Silkspike, and that's actually kind of problematic, kind of. So moving it to 5 puts it in a place where it's a little awkward for Nature to have in the deck, which I completely understand. But now, Dragon Tooth War or Damage War just lost one of its best assets because it changed from 4 mana to 5 mana. Now it spikes later and it might not be good. In combination with this nerf, which is Sign of Strife, stats change stats from 1/4 to 2/3. 1/4 to 2/3 is bad, although you do get more strength. You lose 1 health, and for minions, losing health is more important than gaining strength, right? Or more health is more important than more strength, because more health equals more survivability, more resiliency to any kind of removal. Therefore, lowering its health makes it more vulnerable to different types of removal. On top of that, Sign of Strife is a card that when this card survives damage, you gain 1/1. So the fact that its effect is based on surviving damage, and now it got nerfed to 3 health, it makes it a completely worse card. Yeah, it makes it a little sad. So I'm sad to see these 2 nerfs in particular, because I really like Dragon Tooth War. I don't think it's a top meta deck. I just think it's very fun. And yeah, it's actually a very good counter to a couple of the aggro decks that have been popping up in the metagame. So Anubian War, Aggro Deception, Aggro Light, Aggro Magic. Mostly any aggro deck, Dragon Tooth War is a good counter to, because of just the sheer amount of mass AoE effects that you run to, right? So it sucks to see Sign of Strife get nerfed like this and Volcaz get nerfed like this, but it is what it is. I'm just going to have to adapt. Yeah, maybe I play Nature now or stuff like that. Cool. Next up, we have Goblin Rally Rally Boss. Sorry, talking's hard, y'all. Goblin Rally Boss, text change. Change text from Tempt Fate. When this creature attacks, randomly summon a 1 mana creature to now it summons a 1 mana war creature. Okay, get it. I think, again, I think it's okay for the devs to reduce the amount of variance they get with all these cards. So, I mean, I'm okay with the change. Injured Sprout, text change, regen +1. When this creature enters the board, it takes 3 damage to regen 1. After this creature is summoned, it takes 3 damage. Okay. After this creature is summoned, it takes 3 damage. Okay, that's not bad. I mean, I don't think it changes too much. War's Wake doesn't change. Injured Sprouts don't change, so yeah, it makes sense. Hibernating Ursine, change text from at the end of your turn. If this creature has an attack this turn, heal it to full health. To at the end of your turn, fully heal this creature if it has an unused attack. Okay, that's an interesting grammar change, but it makes sense. Brinkwatcher, change text from at the end of your turn, give 1/1 to this creature if a card left your void during the turn, to once per turn, this creature gains 1/1 after a creature leaves the void. Okay, so it only happens once per turn. But now it can happen at any point in the turn instead of happening at the end of your turn. So that can have some implications. Maybe you summon a Brinkwatcher turn 2 or turn 1, and then you, I don't know, summon a random Anubian. I don't know. You can use your imagination on this. Shadowstep Backstabber, text changed. Change text from Echo, Roar, steal 1 strength from the strongest enemy creature to Echo, Roar, this creature steals 1 strength from the strongest enemy creature. Okay. Yeah, it's a grammar change, makes sense. Shadowstep Frontstabber, change text from Soulless Roar, steal 1 strength, same thing. Okay, got it. Okay, so that's it for the nerfs. In terms of what things I'm sad about, I'm definitely sad about Volcaz and Sign of Strife. I think the nerf was unnecessary. maybe definitely for Sign of Strife, maybe for Volcaz, because Volcaz is pretty strong in regen nature decks. So yeah, it's basically an additional effect to proc regens, right? So yeah, Sign of Strife was definitely a nerf, though. It hurt my soul to read that. I am excited for United Reinforcements, though, because, well, Nature just got its first ever draw spell, people. That's a big deal for the deck. And it's not even like a random draw spell, draw a random card from your deck. It's draw an Amazon or a wild creature for your deck. That means you have creatures for the next turn to play and continue your aggression. So, pretty nice stuff, if you ask me. All right, next up, we're going over what they're actively assessing. They're actively assessing Alistrina, okay. Armory Heist, okay. River Jumper Captain, okay. Ecclesiastic Encourager, they're watching. Dagon the Nightwolf, Lethargy Mage, High Concern. Okay, so Alistrina is critical, I understand. OTK Magic hasn't really popped off as much as I wanted it to. But maybe there are other lists out there from other players that are having some success. I'm having success with it, but it's not like broken success where it's an over 70% win rate. It's more of I'm more winning maybe like 55-60% of my games. Armory Heist, okay, that makes sense for Deception. River Jumper Captain is also there for Deception. I understand Ecclesiastic Encourager. I think that's okay. Because 4 durability for a relic is a lot. Especially because it's 2 mana. Dagon is broken. I'm just going to put it out there. Dagon is broken. I would be concerned about this card. This would definitely be one of those cards where if I was a dev, I would probably nerf this. I'm surprised they nerfed Silk Spite over Dagon, but I guess it's okay. Lethargy Mage, High Concern. Yeah, this card is actually kind of strong. Especially in terms of using it in Sleep Deception against aggro matchups. You play Lethargy Mage and you basically make their board completely useless until they can buff their board again. So I could see that being a concern. And then they're fixing bugs. Yay, fixing bugs. Thanks, devs. Appreciate the bug fixes always. Cool. Fixing grammar, updated card art, all that good stuff. Cool. Awesome. And there you have it. There are patch notes, y'all. In terms of my closing thoughts or final thoughts, I think it's a very healthy thing that the devs are doing by being proactive these first couple weeks on balancing. One of the key things for getting a game to a great power level / balance, game balance, is iteration, right? You want to iterate as much times as possible. The only thing that I kind of want to give devs a food of thought for is too much iteration won't allow for metagames to settle. And that could be a problem, right? Because if we iterate too much, we won't be able to properly assess the power level of certain cards. So you won't be able to actively see how the changes take effect, right? I think this problem happens a lot in TFT, for example. For those of you who aren't familiar with TFT, they do patch notes every week. And that can be hard sometimes. Sometimes they'll do patch notes every other week. Actually, I correct myself. They used to do patch notes every week, and that used to be hard to keep up as a player because every week you just try to solve a new metagame, and you wouldn't have time for metagames to settle. So that in turn would give you unreliable feedback as a dev, and as a player, it would just be stressful because you're constantly trying to find out what the best decks are because the metagame's constantly shifting. So with TFT in particular, they had to change from putting a patch out from every 1 week to putting a patch out every other week. in order to give a proper sample size or get a proper sample size for the metrics they were looking at. So devs, I highly consider that maybe we try to space out these patches so that we get accurate feedback instead of just nerfing things to the ground preemptively. Because it does take a toll on players, especially when players do put a lot of time into testing these cards. So yeah, I just want to air that. But other than that, I think the devs are doing a great job. I think the devs are doing a great job with the big picture of things. I'm very sad about the Volcaz and the Sign of Strife like nerf. I'm also very happy Nature got a draw spell, but that can be scary for the class because Nature getting a draw spell opens up the door for a lot of crazy things. So even if it's just a 3-mana draw spell, it's still pretty good. So yeah, anyways, that's pretty much it for the video, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. If you like this content, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. It supports the channel immensely. And let me know in the comments below what you think is the most impactful change from this patch. Is it going to be Nature getting its first ever draw spell? Is it going to be, well, it's probably not going to be Volcaz or Sign of Strife. It's probably going to be any of the light nerfs or the Silk Spike nerfs or anything of that sort. So yeah, other than that, y'all, have a great day. Have a great weekend. It's Tuesday. Oh my God. Have a great Tuesday, and we'll see you next time. Be on the lookout for the next Market Watch video, by the way. It should be coming out sometime either today or tomorrow. So cheers, y'all. Have a great night, and take care. Peace. Bye.